Alrighty, you guys, we've made it to the end of the Traitors Season 4. We're talking episodes 11 and the reunion with episode 12. But before we even go any further, you guys, now this joke is not really my joke, but I will say my eyes were opened after the BAFTAs. Y'all know what happened at the BAFTAs. If you didn't, please go look it up. But are we sure Alan Cumming is not the traitor all along? I don't know. After that hosting job, and what he said, well, you know. Anyways, let's get into my recap and review for episodes 11 and 12. Someone's going to get mad at that, maybe? I don't know. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap and review of the Traitors Season 4 finale and reunion. Listen, you guys, I can't tell you that I am surprised by the outcome of this season, but you really miss Candace and Lisa in moments like this. Heck, even Natalie, who was banished last week. But y'all, we are at the end. I'm so glad I've been able to cover like the last half of this season and talk about it with you. So if you enjoyed this, movies, TV, and so much more, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, get locked in. We are about to enter into weddings for Love is Blind Season 10. That is dropping next week, you guys. So there's more content coming. I'm seeing a movie this weekend. I'm excited for what's ahead as we get closer to spring. Alrighty, y'all. Well, here we are, right? The Traitors Season 4 has been up and down for me. A lot more ups than downs, but this last half has been full of a lot of mixed emotions. Like, there are moments I love and there are moments I don't love. And I feel like this finale sort of went off on a whimper. Anyone else feel that way? If you do, let me know in the comments below, but we're going to break it all down. We're talking about this and the reunion. So this is your spoiler warning, y'all. Listen, if you haven't been watching the Traitors, watch it, come back to the channel, get my thoughts, and then go ahead and leave a comment because I don't want you to get spoiled, all right? Because we're talking spoilers from here on out. We are in the final stages for Season 4. The final episode is nigh. That was kind of like a regal thing that, I don't know, it's the castle lingo. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Episode 11, the finale is titled Leap of Faith, and you really had to make a leap of faith to stick with this one because there were some moments where I'm like, this is just boring, really boring. But guys, the 10th murder is about to happen. Remember, we left off with episode 10 where there's a coffin surrounded by like things of fire, and then all the contestants in the castle have to watch as somebody gets murdered, and this person happens to be Mark with the good hair. Oh my gosh. I did not expect it. I thought it would be Maura, to be completely honest with you. But she ended up being the wild card for this week. So Mark is eliminated, and his final words to the contestant are, "See you in HE double hockey sticks." I'm not repeating it, but bro, you're not seeing me there. I'm going to glory, so I'll tell you that much. But Rob said, "I love you, man. Like you didn't send him to his demise. You snake." It won't be the last snakish thing he does this season. Bet. Alrighty, y'all. Final breakfast time. The last time our contestants will be able to eat this salmon, which is reportedly delicious. I mention it every week, but what are they putting in the salmon? Alrighty, so we got Eric walking in. We got Rob. We got Tara, Johnny. We've got Maura. And listen, the final group is here. I won't lie, though. The final 5 contestants are just sort of boring. They don't make for, like, the greatest TV. This is where you miss again, a Candace or a Lisa. Heck, if Portia made it this long, she would be great TV too. But the Housewives really were adding something this season, and they took them away. Candace, that's my number 1 contestant, so I really wish you would have been around this long. So Rob tells Maura at the breakfast table, "I feel like I've known you for years. And homeboy, you're not slick. I know what you're doing. You're trying to build some sort of romantic chemistry there, flirt with her a little bit, and get her on your side. I know it. And this entire time, Maura is so smitten by Rob. And then, well, Rob and Eric decide to try and convince her to vote out Johnny and Tara. Sneaky, but getting rid of Johnny and Tara would be getting rid of the 2 strongest faithfuls left in the game. So Alan Cumming shows up to, of course, say what he's going to say about Mark and then tease the mission. But Alan Cumming looks a little disheveled here. And I'm almost wondering, was this post-BAFTA? No, it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. But it does look like, he just got off the BAFTA stage because homie went through it. But Alan Cumming's lame statement aside, we're going to get back to Eric and Rob because after the breakfast, they again have a 2-on-1 conversation with Maura. They're really trying to convince her that Johnny and Tara are the traitors. And Maura's like, I'm being dragged back and forth. I'm the wild card. Never would have thought that Maura would be the wild card. Listen, she's the last remaining contestant that's serving great looks. But other than that, man, I did not expect her to be in the game so long. But Tara is not going down without a fight. She pulls Maura aside for a chat to convince her that Eric is a traitor. Of course, Johnny and Tara believe that it's Eric and Rob. But if you get Eric out of the game, that only leaves Rob, right? So in their mind, they're thinking Eric's an easy target. But he wasn't that easy. So it's time for the final mission, and this one was actually really good. Listen, y'all, I was impressed by this mission. The last week's mission was terrible, but this one was very good, you guys. So there's 2 teams, all right? You got Maura and Rob, the helicopter team, in the middle of this very cold day in Scotland. I believe it's Scotland, right, guys? And it's very cold. It starts raining, but they're in the air, and they have to drop down like this buoy with a dollar amount, right? And I guess the card in which they believe is the contestant to answer the question at each different point in the water. So there's like 4 or 5 questions or so. And then the team in the boat, which is Eric, Tara, and Johnny, they go out to the different questions, look at that, try to make an answer. They got to communicate with the helicopter. They got to agree on things. And then the helicopter team drops the answer with the cash amount. And if they get it right, it adds to the pot. But boy, did this get interesting. As Johnny, Tara, and Eric are going to the loch, is how you pronounce it, and in the car ride, Eric really tries to create this narrative around Maura being a traitor. But Maura tells Rob in the helicopter, we need to go for Eric, and Rob's face this entire time was like, what, Eric? Actually, not a bad idea. There's a possible $20,000 on the table though, so all the messiness aside, they gotta try to work together. So the very first question was this. Which player was last to have a coffin put in their grave, I should say, at the first mission? So they figure, okay, let's think back. But I think it was Rob who said, no, it's definitely Mark. So they decide to bet a low amount just to be on the safe side. So their answer was Mark for $500. But the correct answer was, yes, it was Mark. So they do get $500. Now, for the second question, it got a little harder. Who was sat opposite the murdered player at the Black Banquet? Now, I guessed this one correctly, and I'm very proud of myself. All right, good memory, praise God. But they attempted to answer this with Colton for $9,000. Now, the correct answer ended up being Colton, so they win $9,000 as well. They're working really well together, right? Helicopter team, boat team, they're doing a good job. But then it starts raining, and it's not just a light drizzle. This is like that kind of rain where you're shaking in your space boots. It looked cold, okay? I felt cold. I was on the couch and I pulled the blanket up a little bit closer to my neck. But the third question ended up being, which player started and ended on a shield throne at the second mission? I'm going to be honest, y'all. You got me beat. I have no clue. But they are very confident, honestly. And they say it's Caroline. So they bet $3,000. And the right answer was Caroline. And they win those $3,000. All right, now I feel like they're just never going to get one wrong. So at the fourth question, it was, which housewife has received the most overall votes this season? I won't lie to you, this wasn't very hard, but they did attempt to answer it with Lisa for $7,500. And the correct answer ended up being Lisa. So they win that $7,500 too. So both teams end up returning to land. They have a chance to now add an extra $20,000 to the prize pot, but Alan Cumming reveals one person from the helicopter team must jump in that freezing cold loch, swim to one of the buoys, bring the card back to land, put it in within 5 minutes, and then they win. But if they don't win the extra money. Well, who do you think jumps out of the helicopter, okay? It ain't Maura. It's definitely Rob. So he ends up making it to land with less than 10 seconds to go and without a shoe, and an extra $20,000 is added to the pot. So the total now for the prize pot is $220,800. I can't even say it properly. I'm going to see that money maybe one day, who knows? But boy, that is wild, right? So that's a lot of money. After taxes, not so much. But hey, every contestant, though, is shivering like crazy as Alan Cumming is under his umbrella. So he's good. He's not soaking wet. All the other contestants are freezing their tails off. And they figure out, okay, well, we got the money, but now we got to figure out who we're going to vote off. So during the moments before the round table, Johnny and Tara say, hey, it's Eric and Rob. So they're with this narrative, right? They know who the traitors are, but I think it's too little too late. Tara, I don't know, they say both things. Tara pulls Mara for another one-on-one conversation and is like, girl, please listen. Don't be smitten by this snake. It don't matter, though, because Mara is on Team Rob. Mara promises Eric, though, that she's not coming for him, which is weird because Rob notices she's lying to at least one of them. Oh boy, it's getting spicy now, right? Okay, time for the 10th banishment of the season. Mara says in her testimonial that she does believe Eric and Johnny are the traitors. You almost had it. You almost had it there, Mara. Alan Cumming reminds all the contestants that any banished players from here on out will not reveal their identity, which makes things very interesting. Tara does bring up at the round table that Eric threw out Mara's name in the car ride to the final mission. And that's not great because Mara just told Eric, don't worry, you're safe with me. Liar. So they begin the voting session and Eric votes for Johnny. Johnny then votes for Eric. Ooh, back and forth here. Rob votes for Johnny. It's like a ping pong match. Tara votes for Eric. Oh my gosh. So it comes down to Mara, the wild card. And she votes for Johnny. I'm going to be honest, y'all. I expected her to vote for Eric. I don't know when that swung, but I have a funny feeling I know who swung her neck, and that was Rob. That was not supposed to intend anything else, I promise. But Rob wanted to smile so badly in this moment, so Johnny is banished from the castle. So I do like the rules at the end of the game. This was a cool little twist. Remember, my first season watching the Traitors. So if all the contestants believe they are faithful, the game is ended. But if one of them believes a traitor is in the midst, the game continues, which is really cool. So Mara tells Rob, like, listen, I promise you, we'll get Eric and Tara. And Rob is like, yeah, Eric and Tara, I promise you too. It's just, what a snake. He's playing literally both sides of the field. It's smart, but like, how you did my girl Candace, I can't accept it. But then Tara tells Mara that Eric and Rob are traitors once again, and Mara's beginning to doubt if Rob really is a faithful or not. So we get to what's called the Fire of Truth. They have these little pouches that either vote to banish again or to end the game. If it's green, that's a vote to end the game. So green like my lights. Or if it's red, well, then it's banish again. So, well, before I even get there, Alan Cumming's outfit is absolutely ridiculous here. What is going on, Alan Cumming? My gosh, his outfits have gotten worse as the season's gone on. I can't hold y'all. So they have to choose again all together if they want to end the game. So Mara votes to banish again. Eric votes to banish again. Rob and Tara, yep, they're banishing again. So Tara's like, you know what? All right, listen here. Okay, we got to banish again. Eric, you're a traitor. And Eric's like, I'm not. I promise. My eyes and my ears are very, very good. They've never lied to me except for during this game. There's an 11th banishment now. So during the voting, Eric votes for Tara. Then Tara votes for Eric. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Rob votes for Tara. And Mara is the wild card vote again. It's a pretty cool way to set this up, honestly, with Mara. And she votes for Tara. Oh my gosh, Rob is in her ear, y'all. So Tara is now banished from the castle. Woo! My goodness. Well, Johnny and her can powwow or make their way to the Olympics. So it's time for part 2 of the Fire of Truth. And Eric votes to end the game. And I thought, oh, Eric. Oh, because you think Rob and you are homies still. Nope. And I think he's just, he's feeling the pressure a little, but he did think that Rob was going to vote with him to end the game. But Mara votes to banish again. So does Rob. Eric makes this huge surprise face towards Rob and knows, shoot, I'm gone. You sly son of a gun. And it's true. I mean, Rob just, he has no allegiance to anyone but himself. So during the 12th banishment, Eric said, I trusted you both. And Eric tells Mara to think, why did you never question Rob? Because she's smitten. So Eric ends up voting for Rob. But Rob ends up voting for Eric. And Mara, wild card once more, votes for Eric. So Eric is now banished from the castle. Mamma mia. Here we go. It's Mara and it's Rob. And you know he's not splitting that money. So the winner of the Traitors Season 4 is Rob. And Rob reveals to Mara, I am a traitor, and she is beyond shocked. She's like, you liar. Fair game, but you liar. I can never trust you unless you buy me a Birkin. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So the Traitors, or the traitor, has won the game, and Rob did, for all intents and purposes, play a very strategic game. It was slimy, it was snakish, and he did the housewives dirty, but I guess that's what it takes to win this game. And that is how the finale ends, you guys. It's now time for episode 12, The Reunion, hosted by Andy Cohen. And listen, y'all, listen. This reunion was dry. I'm sorry it did not work for me. It was absolutely terrible. I've seen Love is Blind reunions that are better than this. There are some dramatic instances, but they amount to nothing. Nothing. And then there's some skits in between that aren't great. I just don't get it. You know what would have made for, I guess, better TV is if Candace or Lisa or both had made it to the end. But it just ended up being a lot of old rehash stuff. And again, it didn't lead anywhere. But Lisa and Candace definitely come through with awesome looks. And Rob reveals that he has to buy Mara a Birkin bag as terms of their agreement. I guess Mara was really upset. But hey, Rob's got himself a girlfriend now. So if you buy that Birkin bag, if I'm Rob's girlfriend, I'm thinking, what are you doing dropping 10 grand here? I did find it funny that a viewer asked Eric if he's gotten his eyes and ears checked. Now listen, homie. It's very true. Okay? Eric, for someone who's in music, boy, you don't have very good hearing for games like this. Now, I would say the most dramatic elements of this reunion were at the beginning with Rob and Candace, because Rob apparently assumed that Lisa and Candace were going to turn on him and that the ship was sinking. That was his justification for literally turning against them. I don't buy it. But that was his reasoning. But then Candace teases the fact that Rob might have been feeding information to Colton and has a piece of info from Colton to prove it. And I'm like, ooh, this is good. Spoiler, it wasn't. Rob then says, listen, it was not my plan to get to the end by myself. I don't believe him, and neither does Candace because she used the word poppycock. What? Poppycock? It's great. So after we move on from Rob and Candace, because there's clearly distrust there, Andy asks if Mara and Rob were crushing on each other. And they said, well, we flirted, but we were just friends. And then Rob reveals that he has a girlfriend of 2 months now. And, listen, you better make sure she ain't with you for the money. And you better make sure that you're ready for a relationship because, I don't know, man, you showed that you can be a very good liar. So Candace circles back to this claim that Colton told her that Rob told him that Candace is a traitor. Now, that would be against the rules because for him to know that, it would mean that he's a traitor as well. So that would be against the rules. Colton clarifies and says, I never thought I was working with a traitor. It was something he said, and I had a hunch that he might be a traitor. Okay. And then I was waiting for the elaboration, and we never got there. So that's all there was, a miscommunication. Mamma mia, come on. Then Colton and Lisa have a very brief spat, and it's really nothing of note. And while I'm not a Colton fan in the slightest, Lisa was saying, hey, the word you used about keeping me hostage or taking me hostage, it wasn't a very good choice of words. But then Colton's like, dude, you were in the turret and you said you wanted to slit my throat. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Okay, maybe he does have a point there. So then they introduce some more contestants, and there's this cringe reenactment of Lisa murdering Yam Yam at the Black Banquet. So this is the point. This is the absolute point where there is no return for this reunion. It's dried up completely. It is boring from here on out, and I'm not engaged. I have hardly any more notes here, seriously. I mean, look, my notes are like, Natalie's dragging Tara for turning her back on her, but we knew that. And then it got dissipated really quickly. So, there's nothing. Michael Rappaport shows up and says things. He just does a lot of talking, but doesn't really go anywhere. And then he's like, when I'm talking, clip, 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 or whatever. And I'm like, now you're just being really annoying, dude. This is the side of Michael Rappaport I don't vibe with. But he's got this really distracting cheetah print tie on, so I laughed at that. And then they began these really weird segments, one of them being Love Highland, that I absolutely did not care for. Like, who was this made for? This wasn't made for fans of the Traitors. No one wants to see this. Talk about other things. I don't know, man. But then Michael Rappaport says, listen, I reached out to Colton after the show, and I apologized further for my comments at the Roundtable. I can see how it would come across as offensive. And then he gets into it with Johnny because Johnny starts spatting with him. It's weird. It doesn't work for me. This whole segment just felt like it was a detour for nothing, just to get Michael Rappaport to yell. And I love the fact that someone shouted, "We're bored!" Because yes, me too. And then lastly, best costume design goes to Maura. I believe her and Candace were definitely in the S tier rankings for costumes, or I should say outfits, this season. And yeah, that's about it, y'all. There was really nothing else. An hour of wasted television and time. So the reunion was a complete waste of time, but the finale wasn't terrible. I think the second half of the Traitors is weaker than the first half, and it has to do with a lot of the personalities that lasted to the end. The game did get a little drier. Alan Cumming was a little less funny as the season went on, but there's really not a lot of material to play with either. Candace, Lisa, Portia, even heck, Michael Rappaport being off the show, it takes away from really entertaining and messy TV. So I didn't necessarily think it worked too well. The home stretch felt like forever, but I would overall give this season of the Traitors, if I had to grade it, like a B. You know what I mean? It was still fun TV for while it lasted, but I want to know what you guys think of the finale and this season. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel if you've made it this far, y'all. There's more reality TV to talk about on this channel, and movies and different television series. So if you've loved what you've seen and heard, make your home here. Thank y'all so much for sticking with me during this season of the Traitors. I'm back for season 5, baby. Don't play with me. We're coming back for season 5, whenever that is. And it might not be with celebrities. It could just be with average citizens. We'll see. Alrighty, y'all. Well, thanks so much again for watching. God bless you guys. And I'll catch you at the next screening. Alright, I want to banish again. How do I do that? I'm going to banish again. Watch this, guys. Banish again. Yeah.